All right, concepts of strategy. Um, so what concepts of strategy, right? Strategic planning. First of all, we need to know about strategic planning. Strategic planning, also known as long-term planning, right? Basically, uh, long-term planning, or we can say corporate plannings, and it considers the long-term. Think of the time horizon of about like it thinks about the planning of you can say 5 years to 10 years planning, uh, that where we want to reach, what products we want to launch, what turnover we should have. That's the strategic planning, right? So the characteristics of concepts of strategy are of strategic planning. Characteristics of strategic plannings are as follows. Number one, it gives direction to whole organization. And integrates its activities. It considers all stakeholders. It looks at how to gain the sustainable competitive advantage. All right, it relates to organization resources, its competencies, and environment. Organization resources and competencies to its environment. All right. Now, if we look at the definition of the strategy, there is no universally accepted definition of strategy. All right. This word usually used in different contexts of mean different things. The following definition, we can say that it is a useful one, right? And what's the definition over here? Strategy is a pattern of activities that seeks to achieve objective of the organization and adopts its scope, resources, and operations to environmental changes in long term. Right. So now let us discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the strategies, or you can say strategies planning. Right. So what are the advantages? It forces organization to look ahead. Number two, improve fit with the environment. Better use of resources. Ensures goal congruence. It help monitor progress of the organization. Now let us look at the disadvantages. It can be time consuming. Uh, it can be a straight jacket. It can become bureaucratic. It may be difficult in rapidly changing markets, and it is less relevant in crisis. Okay, so strategic planning is particularly more important when there are long lead times. All right, it is important when there are long lead times, there is high capital expenditure. Many stakeholders are affected, right? So far, so good. Now, let us look at the levels of strategic planning. All right, as far as the levels of strategic planning are concerned, we have three levels. Number one, corporate strategy. Then we have business strategy. Then we have functional strategy. That's the other level, right? So let us discuss all the levels one by one. Number one, we have as discussed corporate strategy. All right, corporate strategy. So, what is corporate strategy? As I told you that this is what organization looks at as a whole and considers. Right, it does consider what the firm orientation toward goals, firm's orientation towards growth. Number two, the level of diversification in the company's products and markets, and company's product and markets, the manner in which management coordinates activities and transfer capabilities between business units. All right, then we have business strategy. Okay, business strategy, examine each individual business units and focus on number one, actions taken to provide value to customers and gain advantage by exploiting core competences. Competencies in specific individual product or specific markets. Uh, it also look at the firm's position in industry, in an industry which is related to competitors and to the forces of competition. And then we have the third level, which is functional or operational strategy. Right. So for functional and operational strategy, right. Okay, functional or operational strategy relates to a single functional operation, right? Such as, for example, it's related to, purchasing, marketing, human resource, which is also known as HR, management, etc. A decision at this level within the organization are often described as tactical, right? And they are much they are these functional or operational strategy is much more detailed, right? It is much more detailed and specific than corporate and business level strategies, and deals with areas. It does deal with areas, such as allocation of resources among different operations within that functional area. Within that functional area, you say it coordinates between functions or for optimal contribution to the achievement of the strategic business units, corporate level objectives. Coordination between functions for optimal contribution to the achievement of strategic business unit and corporate level objectives. Okay, then further it is about gaining, retaining, and developing resources and capabilities into ones which can give strategic advantages and support business level strategy, right? So far so good. I hope you get it till here. All right, strategic choice. Strategic choice follows strategic analysis based upon the following three elements. And what are those three elements? Firstly, it has generation of strategic options. Generation of strategic options, which include what? The generation of strategic options can be, for example, you can say a growth, right? Either we have to uh, by organic growth, right, slow and steadily, or we can increase the pace of our growth of by acquisition or diversification, or through the diversification of products and services, or the concentration, whatever it is, the choice. Then the second step into the strategic choices is to evaluation, right? Evaluation of the options. And how we will do the evaluation of those options? We will look at their merits, their feasibility, that how much each option is, uh, which option is better, more more reliable, more beneficial for the organization. And then finally, the third step is the selection, right? After evaluating each option, uh, just select and start work on it and start monitoring either monitoring that either the each strategy the strategy which we have chosen is actually working for us. If it's not, then look at the alternative plan. There may be a chances that more than one strategy have been chosen, so evaluate each one whether they are working for us or not, right? Now right, so far so good. Okay, now what is strategic drift? Strategic drift, it is a situation, it is a situation where, in easy words I will explain it, that environment is changing rapidly, and as compared to environment, the organization pace is slower than environment. And obviously when the environment is changing more rapidly, and the pace of the organization's growth, the organization changes is slower, obviously there will be a big gap, and it's not suitable for the organization. We need to close this gap uh, as quickly as possible, otherwise it's not a good sign for the organization, right? Now, what can be the causes of strategic drift? it, Number one, the cultural influences is the one of the uh, big reason of the strategic risk, because of the maintaining strategic stability and sometimes resisting strategic change. The power culture within the organization, it can be the obviously another reason where you know the they may be reluctant of those changes of environment, and they are not adopting that. And obviously effect of policies and effect of policies is another reason of strategic drift. The relative influence of the decision making of different individuals and groups uh, can be the reason, right? So how to avoid strategic drift? Number one, uh, regularly assess environment, right? Both in current state and its expected future state. You should have organization should have flexible systems, right? You should have flexible systems for reacting to changes in its environment. There should be a clear idea of mission. Clear idea of mission means, a clear organization should have a clear idea of its mission and objectives in order to understand where it wants to be in the future and to guide strategic choices. uh, it should have strong leaders, right? Strong leaders can impact the organizations who are willing and able to make changes to the organization direction and strategies. They should break down barriers to change. Barriers to change. by having an organizational culture that successfully copes with the change. I hope you get it, and we are done with this area. See ya in the next session.